There's always an element of politics and fiction in film, and at the festival that reflects that. If there is politics at the festival, and we have been criticised for that before, it's not the festival's fault, it's because of the filmmakers. The film festival is simply an echo of the heartbeat of the world and the heartbeat of creation around the globe. But it's clear that this year, for some extremely political films that are directly political, such as the Ken Loach film, well, there are other filmmakers that have gone further into fiction, into period dramas, into historical films. And that is probably because today, in the era we're living in, with the violence that we're all familiar with, has not yet been represented on screen. We'll have to wait for a year or two for these subjects are broached on the big screen and before directors work on them. I wouldn't say there are big trends in terms of politics or geopolitics this year, or not in this particular selection, and not in what I have heard or seen about Thierry's choices and what they didn't choose for the selection or for Un Certain Regard or the rest. There are some films which reflect society, migration, etc. There's more of a very interesting image which flows through several films, whereby the individual is struck by a world today which is so very contrasted, so very uncertain. And that is reflected in day-to-day life, in our personal lives, and in the personal lives of the big characters who are described in these films. Of course, there are other films which don't correspond to what I've just said. You'll see the Bruno Dumont film, for example. He tells a story at the beginning of last century, and we're not in that kind of parameter. But for films which are current, which recount today's life, we get the feeling that the characters no longer have a simple analysis like, for example, I experienced during the Cold War. Things are much more complicated now, even for people in everyday lives.